There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. I am super, super happy to have you here. It is Memorial Day. And if you're here and live, I just thank you for spending your time with us. Don't forget that you can ask questions while we are here, while we are live. We do have a question queue open. You can just put your question into the chat and we'll make sure to get to it tonight. But let me introduce my guest and our topic today. Today's guest was actually introduced to me. I don't know if anyone remembers Diana Colleen when she was on the show. She was introduced to me through that connection, and I'm so glad that Melanie did reach out. But Melanie Smithson is a licensed somatic psychotherapist with 30 years in the field, a certified spiritual integration hypnotherapist, and the award-winning author of 2 books. So her latest, Shake Yourself Free, just came out, and we are diving right into somatic practices and letting go today. Melanie's whole philosophy centers on something really powerful, that our body holds on to our wounds, our stress, and our grief, and that the path to freedom is physical in addition to mental. So she really believes that letting go is actually a skill that we were all born with and one that most of us have just lost touch with. And we're going to talk about that tonight. She is on the board of NAMI New Mexico and is passionate about reducing stigma around mental health. So, Melanie, welcome to the show. Thank you for sharing your time and energy with us here today.
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I've got some socials if you guys are looking to connect with Melanie. I've got website, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those good things. Make sure you go there. Make sure you comment on something. Make sure you like a different post and make sure that you retweet or repost a different post as well. And that'll make sure to get Melanie more into your feed. But those links are in the chat now for you to go ahead and click through on. But Melanie, I would love to know, to start us off, what made you become interested in specializing in mental health?
Yeah, it's funny. That is such an interesting question because I never set out to be a therapist. I actually found myself in a lot of workshops in my 30s and just enjoyed the self growth process. And in one particular workshop, the work that was being done by the 2 women facilitating it was so profound. And the joy that I felt in witnessing transformation was something that I paid attention to. And somewhere around that time, and I actually can't remember which came first, I started doing some conscious movement classes here in New Mexico at Southwestern College. And I was like, oh my God, this is my work. I should be working through the body with movement just to help people. And my thought was, I'm going to go and get trained in using movement. I'm going to do large movement workshops, but I should have the psychotherapy background. Having really no idea that I was being trained to be a psychotherapist. And a lot of my life has actually unfolded that way, where it's, whether you call God, spirit, the universe, all of it is, was just like, well, we think you should do this. Well, we think you should do that. And I am one when I get cues from the universe or I hear something that I was like, okay, I'll do that. So here I am 30 years later in a career that I never actually set out to be and loving it.
Yeah, I feel like that happens to a lot of folks and now there's plenty of people like my oldest is in college right now to become a teacher. He has known he wanted to be a teacher since like ninth grade and he has
Yeah.
stayed steady on that path. That's what he wants to do. Meanwhile, I was his age and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I changed majors like 4 times and then even after that I still wound up in a field that I'm like, I didn't even know this was a job." So
Yeah.
so I feel like for some people, they really have things mapped out and planned out and they follow that plan. And then for some people, it's like, no, I'm here and I love where I am and how it all came together to kind of bring me here. So I love that. That's fantastic. Now, I know you said you're obsessed with K dramas. So what's your current or what's your favorite K drama that I could tune into?
There are so many, but we just finished Mr. Sunshine, and this is a long one. It's 24 episodes, and it's the story of when Joseon was becoming Korea, and all that was involved with that, but there's romance, it's well written. My very first one was Extraordinary Attorney Woo. I love Alchemy of Souls. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. Crash Landing on You and Mr. Queen are probably my top five. So, but it's just, there are so many of them. You're never going to run out of good K dramas, and they're easier on my system than most American television.
Oh, I
So,
love that. Now, if I'm like, I've never watched a K-drama, which one of those would you recommend starting with?
it kind of depends. I mean, any one of them would be fine, but if you're looking for fun, I would start with Mr. Queen. Extraordinary Attorney Woo is about an autistic lawyer. That was the first one I watched that I loved. I watched multiple times. I really did Mr. Sunshine. If you like historical fiction, I'd go there.
Okay.
So, and when you run out, contact me and I'll give you more.
Perfect. 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 Well, I'm gonna add those. I'm gonna add those to my watch list for sure. I'm always looking for new things, and I love drama shows in general. So, I mean, add the K drama in there. It sounds good. It's something new,
And you
something
can't
different.
multitask because you've got to watch, you've got to, unless you speak Korean, but I
Yeah.
have to watch the screen, so there's no doing this and,
Hmm.
playing on the phone while watching, which is not good for us, but I do it with other shows.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something to be said for that, for like having to really tune in, because
Yes.
then you're already looking where you're supposed to be looking, and yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You've been a somatic therapist for 30 years. For anyone who doesn't know the term somatic therapist or even just somatic practices, how do you describe what you do at a dinner party?
Yeah. So I don't go to dinner parties.
Fair.
But when people ask me what is, somatic psych, it's it's the premise of incorporating all that we are. And the soma is more than just the body, it's the energy around the body, it's the connection to spirit. But primarily, it works with the principles that we store unprocessed emotions in the body. And for true healing to occur, those emotions have to move. The sensations that are related to those feelings have to be processed through the body to release. The other beauty of starting to get in touch with the body, not just to release what's been held, but to use it as a resource and to land in the body. You know, my dance teacher, I dance 5 rhythms every Sunday. And just this week, she was saying, it's like when you're in your body, when you're grounded, when you're accessing yourself, that allows you to be your whole self, your authentic self in the presence of others. And it's like, who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
So people, it's like, oh, I love that person because I get to be who I am with them. And the more that we can be who we are, because we know what's happening in here, then the more we can be authentic with others. That's
Yeah.
that's about us, not them as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you incorporate that into therapy?
Yeah. When so on the simplest of levels, somebody comes to me and says, I'm so angry that this happened. I'll say, okay, tell me about that. And as they're telling me, I'm saying, okay, what are you noticing happening in your body as you talk to me about that feeling? Or they may not even identify the feeling. They're just like, oh, I'm just feeling down and lethargic. Okay, where are and this is, I'll just go ahead and start giving you a tip. One of the things I've been playing with lately is we so often say, I'm so tired. And when you repeat it over and over again, it's like, well, you get more tired, but getting more specific about what or where you're tired. So sometimes I'm tired, my legs are tired, I've been walking too much, I've been dancing too much. Sometimes my head is tired, I've been thinking too much. Sometimes my eyes are tired, I'm looking at the screen too much. So getting a little more specific and saying what's tired instead of I'm tired is one easy somatic practice that we can all use. But again, back to, how do I work with this therapeutically? It's like, what's happening in your body right now. And a lot of people initially can't answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of my work is to actually help people be able to identify that. So the easiest way is to just really take a breath and soften. It's like one of the things we can all do is we can notice as we're breathing that our chest expands. Maybe our stomach expands. When we exhale, it drops. Everybody can feel that, right? You go a little further and you maybe close your eyes and you inhale and you exhale. Oh, I'm aware of some little twinge in my back. Okay, so in some ways, we're more aware of getting in touch with us, with our physicality than we give credit for. What
Yeah.
we're not aware of is how the emotions are connected to that.
Yeah.
So again, it becomes an inquiry, and it's very different for everyone. But let's just say, my back's been, and for me, it's like when my back is hurting, my default is what am I holding in my back? It's not what did I pick up that made my back hurt. So, and of course, this is because of my training and how I
Right.
work. But for most people, the default is what did I pick up? And for me, the default is what am I holding? So even just kind of asking that question and starting to wonder in the physical, when I have some sort of ache or pain, did something happen emotionally this week that I might be holding in my body?
Mm. I like that. And I had a couple of moments last week where I was like, I'm tired. And even as I was saying I'm tired, I was like, but I'm not sleepy. I'm not, it's not that I'm sleepy, it's that my brain is tired. I'm
Right,
tired of using my brain this week. I've had enough of
right,
it. And
right.
it's kind of tied to like, thank God there's a 3-day weekend coming up.
Yeah. And the great thing is like when you get more precise about what you're experiencing, whether it's fatigue, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whatever it is, and this was especially when we say things like I'm stressed, I'm stuck,
Mm,
those are very broad terms,
yeah.
and they don't really serve us in moving through a feeling. The more precise we can get with any of it, first of all, we've got more information. But secondly, when we can say, rather than I'm stressed, when we can say, wow, there's so much coming at me, that's validating.
Hmm.
Saying I'm stressed is not. And in fact, the more we say I'm stressed, the tighter we get, the more we feel stressed.
Yeah. Now, you talk about people becoming hoarders of upset. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that mean in daily life?
Yeah, so it's a term I came up with. So my definition.
I love
um,
that.
and
What a good opportunity. That's fantastic. Yes, please.
yeah, and it's just like, what we do, and you probably notice this, is a lot of times in our conversations, we play Can You Top This
Mm,
with our upset and our stress. And somebody, will tell you, oh my God, I'm so busy and I have so much to do and I have this ache in my back and I couldn't get a parking space. And then you like, oh, but let me tell you how shitty my day was. And so we have this already embedded in a lot of our conversations.
hmm.
But the other thing that happens is something upsetting happens, not even necessarily traumatic. And we repeat that story over and over again, both to ourselves and to anyone who will listen.
Mm,
We become identified with it, and we even talk about who we are because of what happened to us when we were 5. And I'm not saying it's not true because who we were at 5 shapes who we are now. But the more we tell the story, the more we explain why the way we are, the way explain how we are because of what was, the more we become embedded, attached, and identified with that story.
mm,
So it's like we've hoarded this upset in both our identification with us of who we are and in our body. instead of letting it move and being free of it. So,
Do you think that in some cases it's like, okay, you maybe you need to explain to someone this is why I am the way that I am. You know, maybe it's helpful in some contexts. How do you determine like when to hold on to something and when to just not hold on to it?
I don't know that ever telling somebody this is why I am the way I am is going to be in service to you.
Okay.
Instead, I mean, if I was, I don't know, I used to have a phobia myself about needles, and I have a very good story to go with that. But I don't tell that story
Yeah.
because telling the story pulls me back into the story.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I work with the sensations that accompany the phobia so that they can move and release. Now, when I work with people therapeutically, I do ask for their history.
Sure.
And the reason I ask for the history is so that I have some context. And often their history will tell me more than they will tell me. So too often I'll have a client say, I don't understand why I am depressed. I don't understand why I don't want to get out of bed. I don't understand this. But if they tell me their history, well, mom never felt a feeling in her life. Dad was never at home, or when he was at home, he was yelling, and this one was doing that. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is why you feel some of what you do.
Yeah.
So more often than than not, like their story will help me to show them why they're suffering and that it's normal and that it makes sense. So it's more about when I want a story, it's more so that I can validate somebody and help them see that there is nothing wrong with them because they were told that there's something wrong with you. It's like, so like the history helps in that way, but repeating the story and saying, well, I'm just this way and I'm this way because of, no.
Mm. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's a fair answer. I
Yeah.
brought this up at the beginning, but kids have this natural ability to already have these somatic practices and they kind
Yes.
of know how to let go. They cry, they move
Yes.
on, but adults have a tendency to get stuck. When and maybe why do we lose that ability?
Yeah. So when is different for all of us
Hmm.
based on the programming around us. Most of us, well, most all, pretty much everyone that suppresses feelings was told to do that in
Yeah.
one way or another. Whether somebody said to you, I mean, it's like we've got such commonalities, big girls don't cry, and, or boys don't cry, girls don't get angry, we're supposed to be pretty and sweet and nice and kind. And I was laughed at for being angry. I was told it was because of my redhead temper, which I used to be. And all of those messages get in,
Hmm.
and we adapt ourselves, we modify our behavior for a lot of reasons, mostly for approval and safety.
Mm.
So if I am who my mother or my father wants me to be or needs me to be, I will be safer, I will be loved. So we start suppressing those feelings. You may have grown up with a parent. I mean, there's again, it's like whether somebody said this to you directly, whether you were raised by parents that didn't have feelings, whether you were raised in an environment with a narcissist or even a sick sibling where your feelings became unimportant.
Mm.
So we learned, I would say typically between 8 and 12, we start to suppress. And it's not that we don't still have that natural ability to let go.
Yeah.
It's that we've learned to do something else.
It's one of my kids has Tourette's, and he has a lot of physical movements because of that, and a lot of vocal
Yeah.
movements as well.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's anything in between, having that and having to, a lot of the time when he goes over to his dad's house, he has to withhold a lot of his tics.
Mm.
And because of that, he feels like that's how it should be. But then he comes
Yeah.
home here and all of a sudden he'll have all these attacks of just like nonstop.
Because
And
of
I
withholding.
because he's been withholding them, and then he feels like he's in a space where it's okay to do that now. And so I get that. That's all good. But I wonder if there's anything, and if this is beyond the scope, that's fine. But I wonder if there's anything that could help him when he's having to suppress some
Yeah.
of these things. If there's anything he could do intentionally that might help with that.
Yeah, so I have never worked directly with Tourette's,
Hmm.
but I have heard both movement and music are really great.
Oh, music. Okay.
Both movement and music. And what I would say to your son, and I don't know, it's just something, try it, is to see if he could feel the movements happening internally. So
Mm.
what would it look like? So what's one of his movements? Is
Yeah,
shoulders,
like
head?
shoulder shrugging or moving his head, or he's got a bunch of
Yeah.
them. They kind of cycle
So
through.
if he could feel that internally and imagine it happening, and also the other thing I would think, whether he's suppressing or not, the more he could breathe and soften into it.
Mm.
So one of the things, and I don't know if he's doing, well, obviously he's doing it when he's at his daddy's resisting, but even at home, there may be some resistance to
Yeah.
it, even
Or
when
at
he's
school
allowing.
even. Yeah.
Yeah. So the more he can soften and let the resistance dissolve, the easier I would think it would be on him.
Mm. Okay. I mean, I can definitely talk to him about that. And he loves music, so that's definitely one he'll be down to be
Music
like,
and
yeah, I'll
movement.
listen to
Move.
whatever you want me to
Yeah.
listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about somatic work. We've talked a little bit about how it kind of comes and goes whenever you're a kid. But what does it look like when you try to put that back into practice as an adult? Is it something that you do as needed? Is it something that you do daily at first or weekly, or how do you put that into practice?
I'm sorry, did you say somatic practices or letting go?
Yes. Yeah.
Somatic
So yeah.
practices. Well, you're in a body all day, every day. So you are doing somatic practices all day, every day. You are breathing, you are walking, you are going to the bathroom, you are eating. These are all actually somatic practices. But employing the body as as in its wisdom, if you're at the desk all day, absolutely getting up and moving once an hour, and whatever that looks like, and if you refuse to get up, put your arms up in the air. One of the things at a computer, at a laptop, on a phone, is we wind up in a hunched position. It used to be you saw somebody in a hunched position and you would think they were depressed. This
Yeah.
is the position of depression. And you hang out in this position long enough, your mind will start to think you're depressed. One
Mm.
of the things I say a lot is where the body goes, the mind will follow. So sitting at your desk, if you refuse to get up, and I get it, sometimes I refuse to get up, but just throwing your arms up in the air is one practice that will remind you that you're actually not depressed.
Mm.
Even better if you would get off the chair and just shake your body. Oh, here I am. I am in a body. This is a good practice. When you go to the bathroom, shimmy on the way, just to add a little more movement. And there are so many ways to do that when you're sitting. And often we do this, just to shake our heads and stretch a little bit when we start to feel tight. Do it
Mm.
before you feel tight. Roll your neck, right? There are so many ways. And regarding how I might bring this into session, I had a client one time say, and this wound up in the book, she says, I feel like my head's not on straight. So when you hear yourself saying things like that, rather than trying to get your head on straight, move into my head's not on straight. Let your head go forward, let your head go sideways, let your head go backwards. Oh, wow, it's really tilted right now. Oh, I wonder which way it's tilted in. So even just the head, I could move in 100 different ways.
Hmm.
The other thing I can do if I don't want to get out of the seat, I can bounce in my seat. Because bouncing, shaking, these practices are kind of global for any feeling. Some feelings we want to get more specific with, but just adding some mobility to any feeling will start to loosen it.
Yeah. I like that. And plus whenever you're throwing your hands up in the air, if you've been sitting at your computer and your hands are down here, like that's got to be good for your circulation too. Because
Right.
sometimes if I'm just like stretching like this, I can just feel all the blood going back to where it's supposed to go and it's like, okay, good. I really did need that.
And I sit cross-legged in front of the computer on my
Hmm.
couch because this is what's comfortable for me. But often, I'm doing weird things with my legs or I'm massaging my feet, and nobody knows. Nobody needs to know.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
now all my clients go, I wonder if she's massaging her feet.
Now they're gonna know. Now they're gonna be like,
Now
"Hey,
they're,
wait, what are
now
you
they're gonna
doing?
know.
Wait,
They already know.
tilt
They
your
already
camera
know
down
the
now."
rule. The
No, I love
other,
it.
I'm going to add another practice, and this is actually, I'm working on a mini book right now, and the mini book is, I don't know the title. It might be Make Some Noise. It might be Groan Yourself Free, but it's about the power of conscious groaning. And so this is a great practice for when you won't get off the couch, when you won't get out of bed, when you won't get off your chair, because groaning itself is a somatic practice. It's a vibration, much like singing. So when you feel resistant, when you feel tired, when you don't want to do something, when you don't want to get up, and really letting it vibrate all the way through you. And in fact, I would have your son try and groan with the ticks. Again, don't know what will happen, but it won't
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now that's a good question. Is there ever a recommendation where you're like, actually, don't do anything right now? Is there ever a indication for that?
You know, it's rare, but once in a while. So there are places that I will step in very gently with somebody, especially with a
Hmm.
history of trauma. With a history
Yeah.
of trauma, the body often becomes a not safe zone.
Hmm.
So coming back into the body, creating a friendly relationship just by, light sensory touch. Sometimes movement can be used as a distraction. So with sensation, with somatic practices, when we're working there, excuse me, when we're working therapeutically, we want to find the edge. So if I have somebody just, like, okay, I want you to just kind of soften and let your chest expand just a little bit, but they start going out here. It's like, no, come back, too big. And and that is another place where we want to be careful. When you go too fast, too big, emotionally, physically, with anything, you could boomerang back.
Yeah.
So if, common therapeutic issue, I never speak up. I never say what I want. I never say what I need. I want you to just start by asking somebody for a glass of water. Start small. So it's like almost like building a muscle. How do I start getting comfortable with this?
Hmm. I think that that's something that I'm sure it is very difficult, especially for someone who's been through some trauma, or even if you just spent years ignoring it. It's something that you just got to ease into a little bit and rebuild that connection a little bit at a time.
Yeah, yeah, I
So,
absolutely.
yeah, for those of you who are joining us right now, we're talking about somatic practices. We're going to move into talking about letting go here in just a little bit. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat and we'll make sure to get to them. So, Are there practices that can be done? I mean, you've already kind of described some of them with being at your desk, but for folks who are really busy, are there practices that can be done to see some sort of benefit in under 5 minutes?
Almost all of my practices are under 5 minutes.
I love that.
So my first book is Stress Free in 30 Seconds. And so there again, there are so many practices that can be done in 30 seconds. And one of the practices, one of the really simple practices in that first book is to simply focus on the breath, to focus on the three or four parts of the breath, but I was taught and work with focusing on the inhale and then the exhale and then the pause before the next inhale. And if you can do that, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, 5 seconds pause. Even that little practice, doing it twice, is going to create a little bit of a sense of balance. Bouncing for 30 seconds is going to create a shift, all those ones that I was talking about. But again, like one of the things that I find is the people that most need the practices. Well, that's not true. I mean, we're talking, it's like there are different realms. It's like whether we're talking therapeutically and where are we going with that versus are we talking day-to-day management?
Mm,
And the people that most need the practices are the ones that tend to be the busiest, that have very full lives. So to say, hey, I want you to take a half a day and do this, nobody's going to do that.
yeah. Half a day
When I
when?
had
When do you want me to
when I
do
had a
that?
stress workshop years
Yeah.
ago, I had a stress workshop, and all the stressed people canceled at the last minute because they were too busy and too stressed.
Hmm.
So almost all my practices are really, really fast, but I'll just go through some of them. So apathy. So this is one of the ones I think all of us deal with sometimes. And whether it's accompanied with resistance or just like, oh, I don't have any energy, I can't do anything. One of the practices that came for apathy is to put yourself on the floor and move like a slug. So a slug moves by expanding and contracting its belly. So I will tell you when I do this practice, first of all, you can't do it for more than a minute because you get tired.
Yeah.
I,
Sounds
I,
exhausting.
I tend to crack myself up, and all of a sudden, there's like, okay, what else can I do? So with apathy, any movement, any small movement, another thing
Mm,
is to notice with apathy what's already moving. And, often we'll say things like, I'm not doing anything, I can't move. But if you pay attention, you'll notice the breath is moving. The blood is pumping through your through your veins. It's like you're you're moving, you're wiggling yourself all the time because nobody ever really stays still. When you start to pay attention to the movement that's already happening, it brings in more movement. Another common feeling these days, I think a lot of people are angry and overwhelmed and upset about the state of the world.
mm.
Turn on the news and you see something that feels like you can't stomach it. Here's another one, and it's funny, I didn't think I was going there, but those are the words that came out of my mouth. When you feel like I can't stomach it, notice what's happening in your belly.
Mm.
Notice what's happening in your throat. Is there, and for me, there's been a whole lot of gag response. And I actually recently wrote a blog about that, about let yourself feel disgust, because it's not something, it's like, and again, I won't get heavily into politics, but I, until the last few years, the feeling of disgust was one that I didn't encounter a lot.
Hmm.
And now I feel like it's an everyday occurrence. So I wrote a blog about disgust and about how do we move with disgust. So you feel it in the face, and letting yourself express and move with what's arising in the moment.
Mm.
So with anger, and this is a good one because I'll step away from politics for the moment and I'll move on to the insurance companies and the others that keep us on hold for hours and hours.
Hmm.
And you're just like, I want to kill somebody. So can do this a couple different ways in your mind's eye. Well, this part of it you can only do in your mind's eye. You can imagine what you would do to these people that are keeping you on
Mm.
hold if nobody would ever know and there'd be no consequences. You could also do a whole lot of, I
Right.
just want to wring your neck. So giving it expression in any way that you can, rather than trying to hold it in,
Hmm.
is going to be helpful.
Yeah. No, that expression part, I think, we're definitely, I've seen my kids go through phases of we're gonna express everything. Oh, I'm really tired, and then he collapses on the beanbag or whatever, and it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds right. Or
Yeah,
I'm so mad, and then he's like putting his hands up like he's gonna punch somebody, and
right.
my oldest though, I've definitely seen him move out of that. And
Yeah,
he's 19, he's almost 20, so he's definitely moved out of that already in his life. And my
yeah.
youngest is 12, so I guess he's kind of at that
He's
edge of it.
getting
He's
right.
getting there.
Yeah. And and I will say it's a fine line because there are people who appear to be expressing their feelings
Yeah.
when all they're really doing is raging at someone
Mm,
else or sitting in self-pity. So the difference is finding what the feeling feels like in your body first. Because when you find the edge, that's where the power is. That's where you can release it from. So we can do a lot of things with feelings. I mean, we talk about suppressing, we talk about expressing, but often both of them are missing the point.
mm,
So first locating what's happening. So let's just say I get into some sort of argument with my husband and or he did something that I don't like. Let's say before I get to the argument, he did something I don't like and I'm ready to go out and start yelling at him. First, I'm checking in. I'm checking in with what do I feel in my body? And often for me, anger, I find feel it in the throat, especially if I'm not saying what I'm angry about. So
mm.
first I'm locating the sensation. And then I'm really doing an inventory. Did he do something wrong? Because a lot of times we get angry at our loved ones and they've done nothing. They're just the closest person to get
Yeah.
angry with. So that's the first thing I'm going to check. Did he actually do something that I am legitimately angry about? Or did something from the past come up? Did I have too much sugar yesterday? Am I annoyed at somebody else and I'm just looking to take it out on him? So I am going to do this whole inventory with myself before I actually ever talk to him about what I'm angry about on a good day.
Sure.
And most of the time with anger, I've gotten, let me check myself first. And then if I'm legitimately upset with him, then I bring it to his attention and say, I don't like that this happened and I don't think it's fair. Or I don't think, it feels like this. It feels like, blah, 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 blah. But that's how we adult anger.
Mm.
Um, I'm not sure where I came from or went to just there.
That's okay. So you mentioned, that sometimes you're expressing yourself, sometimes you're just raging at someone, and the
Right.
way to find that out for yourself is to check in with yourself. So is there a way for, like, if you're expressing yourself or if you're raging, is there a way for me to determine that? Like, which is it? From a different perspective?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, somebody raging at you, they're just yelling and they're
Yeah.
they're they're not in touch with themselves. It's pretty
Mm,
obvious. And what there is to do when that's happening is to walk away.
mm-hmm.
I don't need to be anybody's dumping ground.
Yeah.
I
Well,
had a
we do.
client tell me about, yeah,
Okay.
sorry. I was just going to say I had a client the other day telling me about his clients that yell at him. And I'm like, what? What? You let people yell at you? well, I kind of feel like they have to get it out. I was like, no, not directed at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we do have a question in the chat from YouTube, and
Okay.
it's a very off topic, but Campbell would like to know if we like burgers. They said, "Do you guys like burgers?" I personally do like burgers, and I'm fine to answer that. Melanie, do you like burgers?
I love burgers, and I live in Santa Fe, the home of the green chili cheeseburger. So,
Oh my gosh. I love a good green chili cheeseburger. Also, that's one of my sister's favorite. So Whataburger has a green chili double, and you
uh,
can't get it here. You can only get it out towards New Mexico,
well, we
really.
and
And
we just
so
got a new Whataburger down the block, but
I
I
love
haven't
it.
been to yet.
I love it. Yeah, yeah, you got to get that. Got to get that one. It's really, really good. See, Blue Bedlam says I miss Whataburger so much. It's good. Everybody talks about, oh, In and Out is really good, or Wendy's is really good, or whatever, and I'm like, everyone who's had Whataburger agrees. I'm sure that's not true, but close enough. So, is there a specific somatic practice that you find yourself coming back to personally? You talked about the slug one. Is there one that you're like, I just come back to this all the time, or maybe one that you would recommend as a starting point for beginners?
Yeah. Definitely shaking and bouncing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that's kind of a given for me. It's like shake it, shake it off, shake it loose. Because and it's funny because some practices will work with any emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But again, even with the shaking, you want to be shaking in order to find, well, I mean, there are a lot of reasons to shake. One, because I've been sitting too long, get up and shake. But also, if I consciously start shaking, it's to see what's moving in here.
Mm.
What am I holding? So that's going to be there. Again, for me, I've been doing this for so long. I've been dancing since I was 4. So the awareness of my body is just, it's constant.
Mm-hmm.
But starting to just, become aware of breath, aware of sensation with curiosity, with wonder, is what I would recommend that everybody start to do. Is like, oh, I wonder, rather than, you know, you say things again, watch your words. Oh, I have such a pain in my neck. I always ask, does it have a name?
Mm.
Is there a person attached to the pain in your neck? You know? So when we say those things, it's often kind of a cue to what's going on. But initially, just starting setting an intention.
Mm-hmm.
What other practices? I groan all the time. It's just a good thing to do, you
Mm-hmm.
know? I move my head a lot when and this doesn't happen as much for me as it used to. I used to be busier than I am now, but when there were too many things on my plate, one of the practices I really like is to imagine putting all of those things like on the spinning plates, and to imagine spinning all the plates with all the things. And once I've got them all spinning really good, to let them crash to the floor. What else? Oh, this is a good somatic practice. Walk slowly.
Mm.
And it's so simple. And nobody can tell me they can't do this unless you're in a wheelchair, in which case, roll slowly. But we move at a very fast pace in this
Yeah.
country. And we applaud productivity, we applaud getting things done quickly, we applaud getting there fast. And all of those are stressors.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just would practice going slow, that is going to shift a lot of things. And I do want to say it's not easy. It sounds easy. But I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I started walking slowly from the kitchen to the bedroom. It was hard. We have been programmed to go fast.
Yeah.
But and on the flip side, if you tend to go super slow, try going a little faster. So it's just switching up, it's like the more movement options we have, the more flexibility we have in general with our emotions. So if you notice that your movements tend to be really fluid, and by fluid, just kind of soft, then try practicing some more, direct movements. If your movements tend to be direct, try practicing some softer movements. Here's a fun one for thinking. So many people overthink, or or people tell me this all the time, but it's actually anybody who's listening. If you think you're an overthinker, yes, it's true because you're human, and
Hmm.
minds think too much. This is where meditation is so important, learning how to let go, learning how to disidentify and recognize you're not the mind. But if you feel like you've got, one thought that just won't let go, that it often people will say it feels like, this thought just keeps going round and round or over and over again in my head. If you can track, and usually people can do this, they can tell me, oh yeah, it feels like it's going clockwise. Great. See if you can make it go counterclockwise.
Hmm.
Because that just little, it kind of makes the mind tilt.
It just brings that awareness a little bit to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, as far as letting go goes, I know that you've written about how kind of to let go, and part of that is somatic practices. Are there any specific tips in your book for things like grief, or we talked about anger already, but maybe for anxiety or for chronic pain, or is it more general than that?
Oh, no, the book actually goes through all of it. So specific practices for grief, specific practices for anxiety, specific practices. What was the other one you just said? Anxiety, grief.
Chronic pain?
I don't have chronic pain in the book, but chronic pain I do work with a lot. And one of the things that happens with chronic pain is we tend, with any pain really, chronic or otherwise, we tend to contract around pain.
Mm.
And when we contract around anything, and by the way, this is a good tip for emotions, sensations, pain, thinking, we tend to contract. That contraction holds it in. So the more we can soften, open, give it space, the better it's going to go for us.
Yeah.
So more space. With grief, grief is, and again, 81 practices, and they do go through specific, even though some of the practices will work in anything, I do have them broken down. This is a grief practice, this is an anxiety practice. Grief is a multitude of feelings. So first, what am I feeling? Am I feeling sadness? Am I feeling anger? Am I feeling despair? Am I feeling lost? Am I feeling stuck? So once you identify what aspect of grief you're working with, then you want to play with that.
Mhm. Yeah, grief is one that's super complex.
Yes.
That one's so complicated.
And
But I,
some more than others, but yes.
yeah, I like that you pointed out that yeah, they're labeled as all of these different things, but one from this bucket could work for this other thing, or one from this bucket you could find just generally useful, and that's fine too. So I like the flexibility there.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
when someone feels resistance to letting go of something, or like a part of you wants to hold on to something, what do you do with that?
Yeah. Um, so it's two different questions.
Hmm.
I'll speak to resistance first. So one of the things about resistance, and it shows up in so many different ways, but to recognize that resistance is actually not attached to us, it's an experience that's arising in us. And I want to add this to anxiety and any other feeling. the more we can recognize that there is an experience arising in me. It is not who I am, it is not attached to me.
Mm,
The easier it will be to detach from it and let it move. When somebody doesn't want to let go of something, I'm going to first of all, I'm going to say, fine, don't let go. I mean, because my telling them to let go isn't going to help.
right.
But then I'm going to explore, why? What do you think you get from holding on?
Hmm.
What do you think is going to happen if you let go? So that's where I would go, because to simply say to somebody, well, you'll feel better if you let go, when I don't know what their motivation is for holding on,
Mm,
is pretty disrespectful.
mm, yeah. Now, if you're working on letting go of something, no matter what that might be, how do you know when something has actually been released versus just pushed down or repressed?
Yeah. So the body,
Mm.
body, body, body.
It all comes back to it.
All comes back to it. And, you know, and it's interesting because some things um, we can let go of really quickly. It's like I'll be driving along, somebody cuts me off, and I get agitated. It's like, come on, let it go. No big deal.
Yeah.
And then I know I've let it go because it's not there for the rest of the day. But when something is highly agitating or happened a long time in the past, and we say, I'm just going to let it go, that's not happening. Unless
Yeah.
you move through and process the feeling, it's not happening. And you know that you have actually released something or let it go when you feel lighter, when you feel different, when you're no longer having to push it down. Because that's what
Hmm.
happens. You push it down and then it comes back up, and then you push it down again and it comes back up. It's like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah. So you might not always know right away then. It might take some
Yeah.
time for you to figure out whether, okay, well, did I just shove it to the side or did I actually let that
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, no, when I and again, depends on the environment. If you're working on your own, when I work with somebody, it's very clear whether they have fully let go. What does sometimes happen is they'll pick it back up,
Mm,
which is different from never having let it go in the first place.
right.
So both can be true. Did I let it go and pick it back up, or did I never really let it go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
And I
oh, go ahead.
let me say one more thing about letting go. Um, when people don't want to let go, why should they let go? That kind of question. One thing that just kind of came out of my mouth during a podcast months ago was, you cannot let go of that which you are.
Hmm.
The only things we can let go of are the things we've accumulated. And the more we let go of what we've accumulated, the more we become more true to ourselves, more essence. So that's my argument for letting go of everything.
Yeah. Just so you can get a little closer to who you're meant to be, who you're supposed to be, who you really
Who
are.
you are,
Yeah.
who you really are.
Hmm.
And it's one of the things that happens. It happened for me when I was going through my school at Naropa, is as I let go of all the programming and the patterns and the habits, there was a moment of, oh, well, who am I going to be without all of that? So there is, and it's typical, it's common in therapy. But what starts to arise is more of the joy, the essence, the truth of who you are.
Hmm.
And that's really fun.
Yeah. Now, you're on the board of NAMI and you care very deeply about reducing mental health stigma in general. Why do you think physical illness gets normalized or maybe more talked about is a better way to put that, but mental struggle still doesn't?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stories I could make up about that.
Mm,
There's a couple that come to me. One is, we live in a society that has squashed emotions forever. And not everyone, not in every household, but as a general rule,
yeah.
we're not allowed, we talked about this before, past the age of 8, we're not allowed to be emotional. We're supposed to be grown-ups and not have feelings, and feelings are weak. And so this all of that programming has created a society that thinks mental issues are weakness.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that I have never met anyone that doesn't have some mental issue. So when I want to normalize that, like people say, "Oh, there's something wrong with me," or "You're going to think I'm crazy," and it's like, yeah, no more than everybody else.
Right.
So I want to name that for everyone. But physical issues, I think part of the reason we've normalized them is because we're so dissociated from the body that we don't think our physical issues say anything about us. We think our emotional issues say something about us, but we don't think our physical issues do, which
Mm.
is crazy because they're completely attached. So I think if people recognize that, I don't know if we'd have more stigma around physical issues.
The stigma level just rises. No.
But it's like, again, I think right now it's like conscious awareness and suppression. It's like the suppression of emotions. Um, I don't know, probably everybody in the world already knows that I really am not um, a fan of what's happening in the country, so I'll just say that. And I absolutely believe it's because of suppressed emotions.
Mm.
The president, when he did The Apprentice all those years ago, I stopped watching that show because he said there are no emotions allowed in the boardroom.
Mm.
That was when I stopped watching the show.
Yeah.
And that is what he is modeling.
Mm.
And people that don't or try not to feel their feelings are so afraid of them that the stigma has to continue in order to keep them safe.
Mm.
And it's really tragic. It's
Yeah.
really tragic because emotions are not as big a deal as we make them. They move very quickly when we allow them. And, it's again one of the things that people are afraid of with emotions is getting stuck in them. I'm not going to let myself, feel the grief because I'll never stop.
Mm.
No, you'll never stop if you don't let yourself feel it. If you let yourself feel it, it's going to be gone in minutes. I mean, that's not true. I mean, I grieve for my dogs 6 months, at least 6 months, a year. It could be, but it comes and goes in waves. The waves
Yeah.
don't last long. So if we would do a better job of educating at a very young age about moving emotions, I think we would be looking at a very different world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even sure that those in our current administration are capable of having feelings anymore. I'm not convinced they're entirely human at this point. No one can be that shitty, but that's just me. Everyone already knows my opinion.
Okay. Well, and it's interesting too, because one of the things I've been kind of ranting about a little bit lately is people saying I'm not an emotional person.
Mm.
It's like, that's a lie. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no such, people are wired with emotions,
Hmm.
and everybody is an emotional person. Whether you are feeling those emotions, whether you are in conversation with those emotions, whether you're letting them out appropriately, that's not
Yeah.
true of all of us. But to say that you don't have emotions,
Categorically false.
categorically false.
Yeah.
Even the ones that, uh, along those lines of what would you do and nobody would ever know, I imagined ripping the heart out of some of these people because they're not using them anyway,
Might as well. What are they going to do without it? Same
right?
thing. Same thing. Same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I like that practice and I will definitely be using it very
yeah.
soon, I'm sure. Not ripping someone's heart out, just imagining it. To be
Imagining
clear,
ripping the
to be
heart out,
clear.
right. And I will say about that, when you let yourself imagine doing what you'd like to do to them, it actually moves the feeling and makes it
Mm,
less likely that you will act violently.
yeah.
So, and again, it's like this is a lot of new age thinking is, oh no, I'm not allowed to hate anyone. I'm not allowed to be violent. It's like
Mm,
we are wired with violent tendencies. It's our job to process them, not to
right,
deny them.
right. Is there anything you want someone who's been holding on to something painful for a long time? Is there anything you want them to hear today?
Yeah. Well, I want them to hear everything I've said, you
Yes.
know, and I want them to ask, why am I still holding on to this? Is it because I think I'm getting something from holding on? Is it because I'm afraid of what will happen if I let it go? Is
Mm,
it because I don't know how to let it go? So I would just start asking those questions.
yeah.
And that that inquiry could take them somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are coming up on our last couple of questions. So, folks who have been here before, you know that that means this is one of your last chances to ask anything of Melanie that you would
Last
like to
call.
know. So, make sure that you get those questions into the chat and we'll just keep going here. So, Melanie, what is your favorite life hack?
Um, yeah. So I think my very favorite life hack has to do with my dog. And Kira, who is a black lab pit mix, likes to roll in the dirt. Kira has t-shirts. So the t-shirts get dirty and they're easier to clean than the dog.
Yeah.
The good news about the t-shirts is they also have SPF protection and she loves to wear them. So, and my second life hack, and I don't know that, well, everybody can't do this, but it was a really good one for me. I married a energy medicine practitioner, functional medicine person, and that was a really smart thing to do. So rather than marry for money, I married for health.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. It's look, I mean, people marry for money. People marry for all kinds of reasons, but marrying for
Yeah,
health sounds
yeah,
like it's very aligned. So that's
yeah.
great.
And I don't know if this is a hack or one of my, my tips for living life, get confused with hacks. But if you're somebody that experiences anxiety or depression or anger frequently, stop saying, if you're doing this, I have anxiety, I'm anxious, I'm angry, I am this. The more you use that language, the more identified you become with it,
Mm,
and the more it feels like it's who you are. And I'm not saying that you don't experience anxiety, but using the words anxiety is arising or I'm experiencing some anxiety at the moment helps you to see the fluid nature of feelings.
yeah, yeah. That's a very small distinction, but it has a very big impact.
It really does. In resistance as well, to
Yeah.
say I'm resisting versus resistance is arising
Hmm.
changes everything.
Yeah.
So that's probably my best life hack is recognize what you're identifying with and notice that it's actually not attached to you.
Yeah. Bite Mark would like to know what is your favorite poem?
All right, I have that. So the one that first came to mind was Mary Oliver Wild Geese
Hmm?
and let the soft belly of the body love what it loves. But I actually have a quote from Gabrielle Roth, who developed the five rhythms. And quote, poem, I'm not sure, but I love this. In many shamanic societies, if you came to a medicine person complaining of being disheartened, dispirited, or depressed, they would ask one of four questions. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? When did you stop being comforted by the sweet territory of silence?
I like that. Especially the when did you stop dancing part. Cuz
Yeah,
cuz everybody's got to like, oh, I kind of just gave up that part of myself at some point. Maybe you can't recognize the exact moment, but
yeah,
and it's not
I
too
did.
late. You can claim it back.
Claim it back. I had stopped dancing when I was in my 30s, just 'cause life, whatever. And I ran a women's group and I had them writing letters to themselves from their child self, 4-year-old self. And I said, well, I might as well do it. I'm sitting here waiting for them to do it. I write this letter to myself. And I was shocked. My 4-year-old self says to me, why aren't you dancing?
Did it kick
Got
you back
myself,
into gear?
it did, got myself back in
Nice.
class, and I have been dancing since.
I like it. Well,
Yeah.
this next one requires a prop that I forgot to pull out of this drawer. So give me just a second.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, it is time for the magic moment of the stream, and I got it. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental health, what would it be?
That it's not that it's not in all of us. That we don't all have to manage our mental health. That it's not weakness, it's strength, it's courage. And to recognize that the people that are the most courageous are the ones that are actually doing their mental health work.
Mm,
It's not for the weak of heart.
yeah.
The
Well,
weak ones are the ones that are suppressing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to share your socials one more time if anybody's looking for you on your website, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. While I do that, Melanie, I'll just give you the floor for a little bit. Anything you got going on, anything you want to promote, feel free to just throw it out there.
Yeah, so both of my books right behind me, Stress Free in 30 Seconds and Shake Yourself Free, 81 Somatic Practices. And I just want to say about both of these books is like they're really usable. They give you a lot of ways to move with everything. So there's that. If people reach out to me through my website, smithsonclinic.com, and let me know that you're doing that. So if you sign up for the newsletter, you can put a little note in, you can send me an email directly. I do free consults. I will send you free 10 bonus practices that are not in the book. And actually, on the website, there is the chapter on moving with thoughts and feelings is already there and available free. And I do have trainings coming up for any counselors, therapists listening on how to bring more somatic awareness into the body. That's starting in the fall.
I love that. Well, to everyone who is here with us live, I'm going to disconnect with Melanie behind the scenes in just a moment, but I've got a little challenge for you to work on in the moment. Pick a spot in your body and just wiggle it. Just wiggle it. Just breathe into it. If you need to just do some breathing. If you're not in a spot, you're like, "Oh,
Or
there's people
grown.
around, it makes me nervous." Or groan, whatever you can do. Just start there and see how you feel. And then whenever I come back, you can let me know how it went for you. But I do
That'd
hope
be
that
great.
you got so much out of this conversation. And Melanie, thank you so much for your 30 years of showing up for people, for the wisdom you poured into your books, and for joining the Even Tacos Fall Apart community here tonight. I'm really grateful that you took the time and shared with us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I think you can tell I like talking about this stuff.
Yeah, it definitely shows. Your passion for it definitely shows, and that's really wonderful. Well, to everyone watching, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up, of course, and thank you for being just exactly who you are. I will be right back. I'm going to have a puzzle for you to work on while you wait, so don't go anywhere.